Hello, and welcome to TR6CC Garage. My name is Glenn, and this channel is created around a 1972 Triumph TR6. I do have other cars that I'll mention over time, and I do have some other hobbies. I like to mountain bike and do some other things. Might mention some of that, but really the primary focus of this channel is going to be about the TR6 and any modifications that I've made to it in the past and future modifications. To me, it's a never-ending project, something that I like to have, that I can work on continuously and just make changes and modifications. When I mention the fact that I consider it heavily modified, that's because pretty much all of the drivetrain has been replaced. I originally started with the rear axle, or the rear differential. I went with an R200 that came out of a company in Pennsylvania, Good Parts. So I was able to source the rear end through Good Parts. In addition to that, he had axles that would bolt directly to the differential, along with hubs that could replace the original Triumph hubs. So essentially I figured if I was going to replace the differential, I might as well just work my way out from there, replace the axles and the hubs. In addition to that, I also went through and replaced all of the studs on the swing arms. I upgraded them essentially by drilling them out and putting inserts in. I think that in my particular case, there were only about 3 studs on each swing arm that were actually still supporting the hubs. So I would definitely recommend to anybody who has either a TR4A IRS or TR250 or a TR6 that you take a look at the stud condition on your swing arms just as general preventative maintenance. Like say over time, and none of these cars are considered new by or any standard. It's always a good idea just to take a look. Also might help avoid having a wheel separate from the rear of the car. Mentioned the rear differential had been changed out. I elected to go with a custom drive shaft. I had already, prior to this, replaced the transmission with a Toyota Supra W58 transmission. I'm sorry, I'll use the term transmission and gearbox synonymously, although I know there is probably some very unique and defined definition between each. From there, now I had essentially the Toyota box, custom drive shaft, and the new rear end. All of that was done while the car still had its original 2.5 liter 6. The 6 actually ran pretty well. I'd done some modifications to it. Maybe I'll cover that in a different video just so you can see what I had done to it. But overall, I started thinking about and looking at rebuilding the 6 and then started comparing that. And there are just limitations to how much power that you can get out of the 6. So I'd always had kind of this burning desire to do an engine swap on a car. And I started doing my research, and I found a 2.5 liter Ford Duratec engine that comes out of the Ford Fusion. And believe it or not, there's a pretty big industry around these engines built in the UK. They use them for kit cars over there. And so, finding bell housings that will adapt them to the W58 transmission was pretty easy to do. You can find modified oil pans and so on and so forth. So the swap itself wasn't that difficult to plan. As I mentioned, I don't like cutting cars, or if I didn't, that's what are the things I'm interested in, rest or modifications, but if a modification involves me having to cut sheet metal or move steering linkages or anything else like that, that's a little bit more than I really wanted to tackle. I feel the way the steering linkage is set up, good, bad, or indifferent, it's the way it came from the factory, and I didn't want to mess with that. So, bottom line, the Duratec engine fit in there. It's a little tight in some areas, but there's no rubbing. I did have to do 2 U-shaped channels that I welded to the top of the frame rails. I'll show that in the more detailed video when I go and do a walk around the car. But overall, That was pretty much the only thing I had to do in terms of making any modifications to the vehicle itself. Just involved, welding two U-channels onto the frame rails, which was relatively easy and something that can certainly be reversed. XKE motor mounts, believe it or not, are what I ended up using along with some other parts out of a supplier from the UK. So all in all, the engine went in pretty easily, no problems at all. So having said that, this is just kind of a brief note to introduce the car and the channel, and more to come. So I appreciate you listening. Like, subscribe, comments, please. Always welcome. And on that note, again, thank you and cheers. Bye.